In case you couldn't tell, and you'd be surprised on who can't, I am indeed bullish on silver's price from now until the end of the year. And what I just heard really bolsters the case for silver as we head through the rest of 2025. Let's talk about it as we explore. Now, most anything can happen. There's no question about that we could see a big pullback in silver's price that could just blow through all the support. But nonetheless, I think most of the analysis out there is positive for silver, and I'm in line with that analysis. I don't want to be contrarian just to be contrary. No, indeed. But I also want to be as realistic as I can about the metal. So that's why my third silver price prediction video for the end of the year, revising it only because I got my guesses correct this year, is still relatively conservative. But nonetheless, that $41 silver call on my end is not what I'm going to be supporting in this video. I'm going to be giving you some analysis from someone else who is building upon some of what I've been talking about and what I think we're seeing in the markets, with a little bit of a surprise as well in the first sentence of this analysis, which I kind of disagree with. But we'll get into that in a moment. But first, I want to remind you about Summit Salivate Summer. It is a Summit Salivate Summer out there, folks, and that's the code that you're going to use to save $10 off of orders of $500 and above until July 31st from my friends over at Summit Metals. So check them out at summitmetals.com. So what is this analysis? What's going on here? Well, it's a portfolio manager and chief investment officer at Sprott Asset Management. This is Maria Smirnova, who's giving some analysis here. But Kitco is reporting that silver is struggling to hold on to its recent gains, as we saw a pretty big smackdown on Friday. We're back to the Friday smackdowns, but you know what? We're still above $38 an ounce, and that's good. But this is after 7 years of supply deficits. The precious metal remains in a solid uptrend, according to one market strategist. But 7 years, I'm scratching my head on that one. I think it's only been about 5. And by the way, that's still somewhat debatable, as I've talked about before, because you have CPM Group, and then you've got others like the Metals Focus and Silver Institute that are a little bit different in their analysis, especially when you look at the supply deficits for the past 5 years. As from what I understand, we're in the 5th year right now. But again, that could be swayed and by other silver coming in. And I'm going to talk about that in another video because I'm waiting for some confirmation on what I'm hearing out there on the West Coast about that could really put a damper on what I'm going to be talking about today, at least to some extent. I don't think it's going to have as big an impact as some might think. But nonetheless, Maria Smirnova, who was from Sprott Asset Management, said in her mid-year silver outlook that the silver market may be poised for a sharp upside in the second half of the year due to solid demand and significantly diminished supply. Now, significantly is a very strong word here, and I don't know that it's quite that bad, but still, if we're seeing what's happening right now with the shock of the silver market up to this point, that shock could continue into the next half of the year. Based off of what we're seeing out there. And not only in terms of the market supply, but also in terms of geopolitics, domestic politics, and so much more that's going on in the world today. And the comments come as silver prices have already seen robust gains in recent months, even outpacing gold's performance. And right now, the metal is up about 34% since the start of the year. That is a big climb. In fact, if you measure from this year, silver is far outpacing the loss of the dollar. In other words, is far outpacing inflation. In fact, if you would have put a whole bunch of money in silver at the beginning of the year, it would have been quite a good investment. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I don't like to use the word investment with regards to silver. But silver has done very well over the past 18 months. No question about that. And so therefore you can look at it as investment if you so desired, if you wanted to. But I don't think we should. I think we should take a step back and look at it as a hedge, look at it as an insurance policy. But it certainly is outperforming gold, and it's outperforming many other asset classes out there, and certainly outperforming the dollar, and that's a good sign. But of course, many of us feel that that's just playing catch up with how lackluster silver's been, really since before 2019 especially, but even through the rocky roads of the silver squeeze movement that we saw earlier, which essentially had failed. Now there's a squeeze in a different way, and that's what we're talking about now, and that squeeze is poised to continue, at least to some extent, at least until we see the tariff situation come into play and it kind of subside a bit. Tariffs are already being collected, but nonetheless, August 1st is really going to be really what's going to be the true nature of how this is going to work out. But there's another factor as well, too, I'll talk about later. Now, we believe the catalysts for this silver bull market are a structural supply deficit, growing industrial demand, and renewed investor interest, particularly among Asian and North American retail buyers of exchange-traded products, coins, and bars, she said in her report. Industrial demand has been a critical factor behind silver's growing deficit, and Smirnova said she doesn't expect this trend to reverse anytime soon. Since 2016, total global silver demand has grown by 16%, with mine production has fallen by 7%. In this environment, Smirnova said the precious metal near-term potential could depend on retail demand, which remains the wild card in the marketplace. Well, yes, indeed. I tell you, retail demand has been somewhat subsided as of late. We're seeing a lot more selling than buying on the retail market. Nonetheless, that could change soon. In fact, we've seen it. Once it got up to over $39, we did see a little bit of a shift there, some have been reporting. The available inventory of freely traded silver has been heavily diminished, making the metal more sensitive to incremental buying, she said. Small increases in demand could now lead to disproportionately large increases in the price. With less silver available for open market trading, investor positioning has become a more decisive force in price movements. While silver has outperformed gold in recent months, Smirnova noted that gold's premium remains overextended. The gold-to-silver ratio has dropped to 86, down sharply from highs above 100 seen in April, but the ratio's historic average over the long course of time has been between 50 and 60. One analyst noted that between the last 10 years it's been around 80. I still question that, but I wonder. Right now, though, when we see it drop to 86, when it spiked up to 39 plus, well, it is now back to 87.48. So we'll see how it goes into the trading of next week here. Smirnova said that this position still makes silver an attractive value play for retail investors. Silver is regaining prominence as a trusted safe haven asset in today's environment of increased geopolitical tensions, inflationary pressures, and financial market instability. Historically, silver has served as a store of value in periods of crisis, much like gold, but with the added benefit of being significantly more affordable and accessible for retail investors, she said. With supply deficits deepening and demand intensifying across both industrial and investment channels, silver's bull market appears well supported. We believe silver offers an attractive opportunity for investors seeking exposure to a hard asset with both growth and defensive qualities. Yes, indeed. And by the way, retail demand is still, the jury's still out on that one, I think, to some extent. Again, there's still a lot more selling going on out there as the price goes up. Some people have been really sick of the silver market when it was lackluster for so long, but there's excitement now, no question. In fact, I'm seeing less and less. There's some people that have come in and have always been bashing silver, and I don't mind. People have can say what they want on this channel as far as the commodities, as long as they're somewhat respectful. But one guy certainly was not respectful towards the end, and I have not seen him at all Nowhere to be found, some of these guys are. And that's just it. We got to keep an open mind. And right now we're seeing silver kind of come out, breaking out. It is definitely in a breakout period. It is definitely in a rally, even with this latest pullback that we're seeing in the markets as we're in the weekend now. So we'll see what happens. But as for silver's potential upside, Smirnova noted that historically in a precious metals bull market, silver's rally has on average been twice as large as gold on average. And I think also the past performance is due in part to silver's smaller market size and higher volatility, which amplifies price movements in silver's dual role as both a monetary and industrial metal, which adds to extra demand. And by the way, its role as an industrial metal and as a commodity is far more significant than it was when I started this channel and even through that first decade. And so that is something we have to keep in mind too. But also, what was not mentioned in this piece, which is incredibly important, is what the Federal Reserve is going to do. And there is a chance, especially with the latest pressure that Trump has put on Powell, that we could see rates fall sooner than later. And if, in other words, maybe before September. If they happen before September, then I think we're going to see this intensify. The market shock could be what is ahead if they lower interest rates sooner than the expectations are from market participants. Not only that, but all the other factors that are coming into play as well too. So be prepared, folks. Let me know what your thoughts are about this video and about what's going on with silver. I strive to bring you the latest news and information in the world of precious metals. So if you enjoy what I do here, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel and pressing the notifications bell so that you can be apprised of the latest video that makes its way across your device, and pressing that thumbs up button. Only about a quarter of you, about 25% of you, actually hit the thumbs up button. It does help engagement, so I hope you will do that. So with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.